Just a quick ad before we do start. There's a lot of excitement around CDP at the moment. It's certainly something, just chatting to Greg, that there's some activities going on with him. Just from a Marketing Cloud developer group perspective, we are kicking 2023 off with a couple of hybrid events. Elliot Harper will be keynoting the first event, and then we have a series of people talking at the March event. We may flow onto an April event depending on content. When we put the ad out for people to join, we expected a couple of people to say, yeah, I'm interested. We've now got about 20 people on the planning committee or planning group, I won't call it a committee, and we've got about 45 people that are interested in learning more about the platform. So leading up to those events, we're running a series of 6 starting in January, 6 informal events, weekly events. They're not to replace any of the content out there. It's just an opportunity for people to get together and share their learning CDP journey. I'm on it too. I don't have any formal qualification on CDP, so I think a lot of us in the community are looking at CDP as a way forward, not so much as a big, bright, shiny thing, but more as a framework of how we do things. If I know I'm not trying to steal your thunder, Lakshmi, or yeah, we do have a group meeting about to start, but Greg, have you got any comments around that as well?
Yeah, I think probably the three platforms you're going to see for the future are engagement, what was Interaction Studio, and CDP. I think those three are going to be the core structure of pretty much anything that goes on in Marketing Cloud. With, of course, engagement being replaced with account engagement, depending on where you're focused on there. But in general, that's the three powerhouses I see almost everyone having.
With all that said, thank you for your patience. This is the Transferable Skills for Marketing Cloud Dev Group meeting. Lakshmi, take it away.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Matt, for the opportunity. And here we are, to share the Marketing Cloud knowledge. Thanks, Greg, for taking your time and trying to share the knowledge, whatever you have. And we look forward for Chaitanya to join, who shares about transferable skills. Thank you. And I will be turning off my camera at 7:45, 8:45. Thanks for that.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
I think to start, what we might do, the agenda for today is to share soft skills, and then for Greg will go through some of the hard skills. And just we're running this event. Actually, Lakshmi suggested that we do something monthly around this, and we're running this event monthly. So just catch us on YouTube. We've done this once before. This is our December meet. We'll just continue to do these whilst people are interested in sharing. I'll share my screen now, and we'll go through the soft skills. If anyone's got any questions whilst we go through, feel welcome to put it in the chat. Incidentally, we've got about 12 people on the call so far. So we had about 85 people. Here we go. We had about 85 people. So they joined. So to kick off, we're just going to go through a little quiz. And this is going to talk about the COVID, not COVID. Why did I say that? I guess a lot of what we've done recently has been through these sorts of quizzes, and this is very COVID issues, and we're doing a quiz online, but it helps us engage, and it helps us sort of talk about and compare notes on this. So if you can, please go, and I'll go onto present mode for this in a tick, but please scan in that code on your phone, on your mobile phone, and join. I can see a couple of people are starting to join now. And I'll get this going in presenter mode. Now, this is self-paced, but please try and keep up with it as we go through it. So, Adam, I can see that you've joined. We've got 5. We have 12 people on the call, so thinking we'll probably get up to about 12 maybe in that little box there. I'll just give you a couple more moments to join. And feel welcome to click on the buttons and say like and heart. I'll give it a smile. 7 people joined. Just another moment. You can always join a little bit later. Let's stop there. Okay, let's go. Now, we've played this before. So we've got a couple of players here now, 8 players. So we've played this before. So some of the questions have already been answered, but please, as we work through this, we're layering on what people have said in the past. So we'll start the quiz. So answer before the time runs out. Pick your best superpower for working with Salesforce Marketing Cloud. And the options are listening, smiling, tenacity, collaborating, or contributing. Now, it goes for a little while, so lots of thought time. So why is listening important? I might just talk about that, and Lakshmi or Greg, feel welcome to share your thoughts about listening. Why is listening important? I think for me, listening is important because you learn. Smiling is important because it shows that you're having fun. Tenacity is required because that's what is needed to get into the system and work all the stuff out, because there's a fair bit there and it doesn't happen overnight. Collaborating, and that's just how we do things. And contributing, giving back what we've learned, is how we share where we're at. People can't make sense of us if we don't share our stories and our journeys. Do you agree with any of those, Greg? Or?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one, I think I'd have a tough time. I think that each one of them is a huge important factor for being able to be able to achieve, to move forward, to grow. But I would say the two that I kind of place, like, a half step above would probably be tenacity and collaboration. Because I mean, if you're not going to have the drive to go through with it, being able to listen, smile, and contribute, you're not going to get as much. And same with collaborating. Like, if you don't work with people, you're not going to get far because people aren't going to work with you.
Yeah, there we have it. Collaborating one, listening, and tenacity came up second. All the answers are right. I'm not quite sure why I've said contributing isn't a correct answer, because contributing is a correct answer. We will go back to the quiz and fix that up. Everyone gets a prize, a star, a virtual star, but all the answers are correct. Yep, collaborating sort of coming through there. Plus listening's following up in third. So we'll play this video from Chai.
I'm Chai, and I started learning about Salesforce roughly about 3 years ago. Then started working as a Salesforce CRM admin, non-profit volunteering with the non-profit organizations, and then switched over to Marketing Cloud over a year ago. And now I work as a Marketing Cloud developer. And my journey has been an awesome learning for me. Like, it's like riding a bicycle. I just have to keep riding so I don't lose the balance. So
I love that
yeah.
analogy. I really like that analogy.
Oh, thanks. No, it's true. Like, there's so much to learn. There's so much to upskill there. So because I thought, like, okay, I learned Marketing Cloud, and now what? It doesn't end there. Like, Marketing Cloud. Then now I'm preparing for my Pardot specialist, and after Pardot there's CDP and Datorama. There's a lot of stuff. So learning never ends. And yeah, before switching to IT, I was working in retail sector. I worked there for more than 10 years. And yeah, at some point I realized my passion for technology, and I had a bachelor's degree as well in technology. And so it was time I made the switch, and I'm glad I did make the switch.
That's nice. Last month, Lakshmi shared hers. I'm not going to share this video now, but if anyone wants to watch that, they can watch it on YouTube. And Lakshmi talks about tenacity, which Lakshmi does very well, and definitely smiling. So, in a word, how does it make you feel when you're listened to? Now, you should see the question box on the screen there, and there's the answers we've had in the past. Now, the reason for this question, and this goes back to collaboration, how does it make you feel when you're listened to? And think about that answer also the other way around. So when you're listened to, when your family, a friend, whoever listens to you, mentor, teacher, whatever, you feel something. You feel like these words: included, empowered, relevant, great, happy, amazing, awesome, valued, motivated. When flip it around. So when you're listened to, you feel this way. But when you listen to somebody else, this is how you make them feel. So it's part of the process. So it's the collaboration process. Yeah, this may be 101 stuff, but just keep it in mind when you're collaborating with people, learning. Um, how do you feel about it, and then play it back in how you react to what other people are doing. Everyone's just giving their time, so it's all voluntary. So we're all just trying to help each other. So that's just a thought. Okay. Finally, a great opportunity of sharing where you're at is just contributing with a Marketing Cloud Minute. Um, I'll send out in the link with this meeting just some ideas about how you can get started with your Marketing Cloud Minute. But it's just a great way of sharing, and it's a great way of letting other people know more about you and your journey and where you're at. And if you don't tell, people don't know. So with all of that, Greg, that were the soft skills. So I'll stop sharing my screen. Greg, it's over to you.
Awesome, thank you. I'm gonna try to share mine. Last time I think I got it to work, but I got a new computer and it's been tossing all kinds of interesting things to me. So I'm hoping this actually works. Can everyone see an actual presentation, or is it a random window? Or
It's a
Like,
side, so we can see a third of it on the screen. So
okay, hold on a second. Let me see what's going on now. Apologies. I
it's okay.
don't know why this is doing this, but
If you forward me the link, I can share it for you if you like.
let's just try one more time to see if this works. Any luck on it, or is it still just doing the
Still doing the
side?
side thing. Oh no, excellent. It's there now. Salesforce Marketing Cloud Transferable Hard Skills Technology.
So if I use my browser to cover my slide, it randomly works. So I don't understand, but it works. So I am not changing anything. So hello, name is Greg Gifford. I'm here to talk about transferable skills for Marketing Cloud with a focus on the hard skills. Hold on. There we go. So now many of you ask, who is this guy and why should I listen to him? Well, I did write a book on Marketing Cloud, so I sincerely hope I actually know what I'm talking about, or I'm about to make a complete and absolute fool out of myself.
Hey, Greg, before you
Yes.
do make, you certainly won't make a fool out of yourself, but it's gone back to the side.
Oh my God, what is going
Yeah,
on with this thing? Thank
and you
you
won't
for.
make you will not make a fool of yourself.
Here we go.
That's it. We can see.
All right. Hopefully this time it stays. um, I'm also Salesforce MVP, marketing champion, owner and author of Gort Huntington, where I discuss many aspects of Marketing Cloud. Also, a founding member of How to SFMC. It probably went back in it. This is going to be fun. All right, let's see if this is working. So, as I stated, I'm going to be going over the hard skills that are transferable to Salesforce Marketing Cloud. And hard skills tend to be the more technical type skills. But before getting too far ahead of myself, let's start with a simple question. Here we go. And it's still there. We go. Sorry for their wonderful technical issues going on. So, what is a hard skill? Well, I'm sure many people like myself keep hearing the terms soft and hard skill. And although we get the general gist, we don't know exactly what it means. So to help get us all on the same page, I wanted to kind of start this out by defining exactly what a hard skill is before going into what hard skills are transferable. So a hard skill, it's objective. It's a quantifiable skill. It's something that you can put a value on and define that value. It's also something you gain through like training or school or work experience. Can be taught or learned. It's something that usually is a more technical type skill that's required for job performance. Some general examples I have listed here are scripting, graphic design, data analysis, project management, foreign languages. Okay, there we go. Next, I want to go into how do I get hard skills? Well, those with a discerning eye may notice on this slide that the list on both acquiring new skills and improve existing skills is identical. No, this was not a mistake. I promise. I wanted to prove the point that we talked about when defining a hard skill. It is quantifiable, and therefore the ability to learn as well as to upgrade existing skills are identical in method, as hard skills have a very specific path all the way up to mastery, regardless if you're a beginner or an expert. So here you can see we talk about a little bit before about how it could be inside of school. So we have college and courses. There's also live training courses that can be done, self-taught training, like just sitting there and just going at it, trying to figure it out on your own. There's certification exams to help level yourself up. There's also on-demand training, sort of like Trailhead, documentation and help sites to support those training methods, as well as getting a mentor or coach to train you up. Now that we know what a hard skill is, let's go over what the hard skills are in Marketing Cloud, and then we can jump into what outside of Marketing Cloud could match up to these skills. So here's a couple quick hard skills inside of Marketing Cloud. There's data management and architecture, project management, marketing coordination, email development, platform development, data engineer, graphic design, copywriting. All of these are hard skills that are used inside of Marketing Cloud. I wanted to point out, as shown in the previous list, hard skills are not limited to just coding and scripting. You do not need to be a developer or programmer to be successful. I myself am proof. Now, many of you might be confused on that, as for the past few years, Marketing Cloud development and coding has been what I've become known for. But I originally actually started out with an advertising and marketing degree, with my strongest language being HTML and CSS. I did have some limited JavaScript and C++, but that was pretty much just I could do a hello world, and that was about it. From there, I broke into Marketing Cloud and became extremely successful using those hard skills of marketing coordination, graphic design, data management, architecture, and similar, less developer-oriented skills. From there, a large hole appeared in the company I was working for with email development and platform development. So I jumped in and grew those skills up to be more productive for my company and myself. Basically, the point of that story is that to break into Marketing Cloud, you do not need to know the development languages. Hard skill does not equate to coding and development. I know this is like the fourth time I've said this, but I really want to emphasize it as it's a very common misconception. All right, here we go. Final meat and bones, or meat and potatoes of this session. So that's all my time today. It's been a pleasure talking to you all. Thank you for coming out. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. First, I'm going to jump into the non-development related transferable skills. I'm going to talk about the project management skills that can easily transfer across. So most of these I want to point out are like the universal skills, and that's there. There's going to be a recurring theme as I talk through them, that it's something outside of just relation to Marketing Cloud, because a lot of these, the the basics of them exist in a much more universal setting than they do uh, reliant to just Marketing Cloud. So, like for instance, organization planning, all that. It's something that really, honestly, every professional needs. But in project management, it's instrumental to in order to be successful. Reporting, that's something else. Like to know how to create a good report and what is considered a good report is not reliant on the technology you're creating the report from. Proposal writing, similar to reporting, it's something that is agnostic to the medium. It's something that you just need to know how to set things up. You need to know what makes a good proposal, what's the correct type of language to use, what information needs to be prepared, all that. And then we go to budget planning. And honestly, knowing how to budget is something that is a pillar to any role as well, because it's not just budgeting costs, that kind of stuff, but also like budgeting your time, availability, all that kind of stuff. Next is time management, which sounds like, hey, isn't that the same as budgeting time? It's actually not. Time management is more around planning the future around, hey, I've got, 3 hours for this project, and then I have to work on this one, and then I've got another three. So you ensure that what the time you have available is maximized for best output. Technical expertise is the next one. That's more from a broad sense, not necessarily specific platform or environment expertise. It's more of just a general broad sense of the of technology in general. Like a good knowledge of technology can take you a really long way. Next up, we are going to jump to graphic design and copywriting. I combine these two as there's a lot of overlap in these skill sets. So jump in like topography. It's really no matter what you design for, without a knowledge of topography, you are going to fall short. Topography is something that truly helps make your message and your design unique and on message. Vocabulary is the next one, because maybe you don't need to use those like high $1 million words, but knowing how to say something in multiple ways helps not only with flow, but also when you run into issues with word count and spacing and all of that. And again, all of these 100% not platform related hard skills, great things to have. There's design best practices and principles. I mean, best practices usually sit outside of the platform. There are some that are tied to the platform, but in general, there's the basics and overall ideas are majorly platform agnostic. And then branding is 1,000% universal. There's branding is a skill that is purely agnostic, but also encompasses all the platforms. It's something that is definitely high level above the platform skill set and general. Oh my gosh, I forgot the word. Uh, Usage. I'll go there. It's not the word I wanted, but it gets the idea across. So next up is language skills, and by this I don't mean necessarily French, German. No, I mean more of mastery of being able to correctly communicate the message in a way that is positive. Now, a lot of people would think, hey, isn't that a soft skill? Like there's an art to it, and that is an aspect of it, but the understanding of the psychology behind it, the understanding the rationale for why speaking this way or using these types of words affects the person this way is a science. And then therefore it goes to color theory, which again is similar. It sounds like it's more artistic and soft, but there is a science behind it as well, because colors invoke feelings and sentiments. You don't need to know what a platform is able to do in order to use it. And then I have user experience and user interface here. and the concentrate on what I'm doing here is more on what is displayed, not what is underneath of it causing it to display, because I focused on design, not development here. So because it's agnostic to the platform, it's just what it looks like. You don't need to worry about platform capability to get that done. All right. Final non-developer role-oriented one was that we're going to go over is the marketing coordinator. There's about 5 different ones here. We got communication theory. Although great communication is an art, there is a science to it as well. Knowing best practices on communication and best approaches is a universal skill. There's technological proficiency. This is more around the general technology, similar like we were talking earlier, not specific to platform or contextual, which are great to have, but not necessary to. It's a transferable skill outside. Being able to know like something like what an API call is, or general knowledge of coding best practices, etc., will get you super far across all platforms. Data-driven decisioning, knowing how to collect and utilize data to make informed decisions is a skill that is helpful not just in career but in life. I've had life-changing decisions that I've sat down and I've gathered all the data, put it all together, and figured out what's the best course based on all that information. It's usually worked out so much better than those times I just go, and I'm just going to do this. That usually doesn't end well. Sometimes it does, but it's a gamble comparatively. Problem solving is another one, and although it does require creativity, I still say it's more of a science, a hard skill, because you need to know when A plus B equals C, or when you need to get C to. I'm sorry, you need to get to D and E in order to get B back to get into equation to equal C, and so on. So there's a lot of specific rules and um, thought processes and theories you need to go through in order to be able to solve the problem. So I usually use those rigid uh, guides inside of it as an instance of this is a hard skill more than a soft skill. And then next is purposeful collaboration and communication, or I'm sorry, compromise. Uh, and this is, I didn't want to put the word negotiate because honestly, I think that negotiation is a strong mix of both hard and soft skills. I think the hard skills involved in negotiation are this purposeful collaboration and compromise, with the actual nuance being the more artistic soft skills with the way that things are communicated and all of that. Um, but it's a culmination of like communication theory, data decisioning, and problem solving all in one is what is done there. Go to the next. So next up is data management and engineering. This one does have some coding to it, but it is only one part of a multitude of skills. A lot of these skills intermix quite a bit, so I'm going to do more of an overview here instead of going over each individual one. Being able to know how data is best stored, how it is best to interact with, and architect it, as well as where and when to make changes, delete data, add data, break apart databases, and so on. That's a skill that is universal to all platforms. It's something that the specifics of how to do it can change from place to place, but the general ideas and ways to get it done is universal. Having a way to kind of protect the integrity of data while also allowing the agility to make the correct manipulations, edits, changes, etc., is a skill that is in high demand and makes high impact. Along with technical expertise and database software knowledge, SQL is something that translates partially into Marketing Cloud. Salesforce Marketing Cloud SQL query only allow you to utilize select statements. and have some other guardrails and limitations, such as the 30-minute timeout we all love. But with good SQL skills, you should be able to not just pick up, but thrive at these queries in a very short amount of time. All right. And then here's the part most people think of when they think hard skills, the developer. To that point, I'm going to spend a bit of extra time on each of these to kind of help explain. Also, as a note, many would consider SQL as a requirement for a platform developer. And for many, this role would include that. But as I went over that in the previous slide, I didn't include it here again. I feel like, anyone would get much value of me repeating myself. So I'm going to start out. You'll notice here there's two different HTMLs. There's HTML and there's email HTML. There are two very different skills, although they use the same language. One can do the other and vice versa, but it's usually hard to be able to do both well. So HTML for cloud pages is basically web development as it is today. The cloud pages don't have much restriction as far as it comes to HTML or even the CSS or JavaScript or anything like that. There's really no major limitations on the client side aspects there. So if you know how to make a web page, you know how to make a cloud page. And email HTML, obviously, there's the restrictions. Mostly, it's still got to use tables, even though it's been a dream for years to finally fully 100% get off of those. Outlook keeps getting in the way. But even outside of that, it's still a bit antiquated and outside of best practice. HTML usually, and it's very hacky. Although I'm sure most on here have a full understanding of the craziness of email HTML, but that also is something that the email builders inside of Marketing Cloud don't have many restrictions, if any, on the email HTML you put in there compared to any other platform. And then we got the CSS, and that's pretty much what you can do in a web page. You can do in a cloud page, and then again with the email, I know there's a little bit of difference inside of the CSS capabilities here, because what you can do in CSS on a web page you can't do on an email, but it's not as jarring of a difference, I think, as what you get inside of the HTML aspect. But there is a difference, but both support it equally inside of Marketing Cloud. JavaScript is client side JavaScript. I need to make sure to clarify that it's pretty much supported 100% across each cloud page. You can do it as long as you keep it client side and you have it all pulled in through best practice there. It's no problem to put it in. So next one, and this is one that's a bit harder to do. It's if you know C# or .NET or some SQL, those are all very similar in theory and layout and function, and even to a degree syntax. They're much bigger languages than AMScript, but they're similar enough that it gives you a good baseline to be able to pick it up. And honestly, AMPscript is something that if you spend a bit of time on it, you can pick it up to be pretty good at it fairly quickly. It's a very easy to read and understand language because a lot of it uses very readable commands and syntax, which is super helpful to learn, especially as a non-developer learning development. But being able to have those backgrounds in those languages will get you that step further to be able to pick it up even quicker. And next one is JavaScript, but it's ECMA Script 3, which for those that are wondering what that means, it's basically vanilla JavaScript from like 1999. That's essentially what that is, and that is what server-side JavaScript inside of Marketing Cloud is running on. So being able to have a decent understanding of that will give you a good push in the right direction for figuring out server-side JavaScript in Marketing Cloud. Now, that being said, I do want to pull the caveat. There are differences inside of what is allowed and what is capable in it. So it's not a one-to-one match if you know ECMA3 that you're going to know server-side JavaScript because, for instance, since it's server, you can't use the DOM or interact with the client or anything like that. So there are differences, but it'll get you mostly there. And then the next one I begrudgingly put on because I am not a fan of GTL, but I figured it's something I should mention. If you know Handlebars and Mustache, you know GTL. It's basically built almost 100% on those. In my opinion, it's very incomplete. It doesn't quite do everything the documentation says it does, but it's still a useful thing to know and can help build different possibilities for your emails. And then the next one we have development best practices. Now, I mean, if you go out and you learn any language, you learn the development best practices along with it. It's something that's fairly universal, like how you work in a for loop, what you do with conditional statements, things like that, how you set up your code, like where do you group things together, using comments to describe things so that when you come back, you know what it actually is doing. You don't have to do discovery on it. Things like that. And then software engineering is very similar inside of skill sets and role to what platform developers do inside of Marketing Cloud. So I just wanted to throw that on there. And then, of course, REST and SOAP API, they're both capabilities inside of Marketing Cloud. So being able to know what those do is something that is super useful and transfer to across from Marketing Cloud. Right. So just to wrap up, I wanted to give an old school, too long didn't read overview. Hard skills are learned in measurable skills. Hard skills are not just coding and development skills. Most hard skills easily translate to Marketing Cloud. You just need to know how to relate it to the platform. And hard skills are learned through classes, training courses, certifications, or self-training. Now, I was going to leave it up with the questions slide, but since my screen share is being crazy, I'm just going to stop share if that's good.
No, that's all
Make
good.
things easier.
Thanks, Greg. Hey, I kicked the Q&A off in a tick, but it's a shame you didn't put negotiations on there because I think negotiations is such a good skill because negotiations knowing about your limits and about when you say stop and where do I start, where do I end? So I think negotiation is part of that planning thing, don't you think? It's like if I'm going to negotiate, I need to know what my scope of everything is. So I think that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
I think it's a shame you didn't put it there.
Well, I didn't want to because I feel like it's a mix of both skills. Like full-on negotiation is both a hard and a soft skill, so I didn't want to list it as just a hard skill. So that's why I kind of put the purposeful collaboration, and I can't remember what it was. Purposeful collaboration and compromise, because that I feel is the part of negotiation that is a hard skill. That was my idea. I mean, it's everyone has their own definition, so I mean, it's that there's no wrong answer.
Yeah, sure. Hey, I do have a question. Pathways. So imagine I've come to you, Greg. How do I'm doing all this stuff. What's my next step? How do I get started? What do I do? How do I get a job? How do I get experience on the platform? What do I do? What's my next step? I'm doing this, but how do I do more? How do I bridge my pathway into actually making it a career even?
So to break into the platform, it's rough because there is no sandbox. Like there is no way for someone to learn the platform unless you either fork out 10K a year for their lowest level platform capability, or you're working for someone, and if you're working for someone and you have a platform there, you're probably not in the position of how do I get started. You're already there. So it's a bit of an issue there. I know Trailhead has some where it mimics it, and then they also, I know, recently they released I think it's 6 week boot camp thing that they work on with you, where you actually get access to an instance to work through that boot camp during that time period. And like I said, I think it's like 6 weeks. It's not cheap, but it's not that expensive, and that'll give you good exposure and get you set up on a lot of it and be able to better understand what the platform is as you go out there. Outside of that, outside of just trying to get on the platform, because like I said, it's tough. The to break in, it's honestly just continually reaching out to the community, finding the people, getting your name out there, trying to see where opportunities are. You'd be surprised, a lot of places would rather get someone that's highly motivated that doesn't know the system than someone that has a couple years of experience that doesn't seem to really want to move forward. So that just the desire and the enthusiasm is something that can lead to you getting a job over someone that may have those experiences. So that's always go out, always try, always push, and share. Share. Hey, I just found out about this job a week ago, and in that week, I learned all of this about Marketing Cloud. That's a huge thing to share. Like showing just without getting paid at all, just on the thought of possibly getting a job, you've already done all this work, goes a long way. A long way.
Totally agree. I know passion is a bigger play than experience sometimes,
Yeah.
because experience, whilst it's important, having that point of view about wanting to learn, because learning is just something you don't stop doing. We saw that from Shai earlier. Just to add to that, I think pathways, generally Marketing Cloud, you've got partners and you've got specialists. And when I say specialists, you're talking about a product, a company that's got a big product, could be a financial institution or whatever. But when you join in with a partner, they're often looking for distinctive sorts of skill sets, and they'll be functional. So getting on to the platform via a pathway as a associate functional consultant who's really helping to get the work done more so than doing the work can often be a way of getting exposure. So everything we've talked about with the hard and soft skills, knowing that stuff, you don't need to know how to do it. You just need to know the skills around the platform. When you join a brand, be it a bank or whatever, they're generally going to be looking at more of a generalist skill set. So they're going to be looking at both. But I just thought I'd share that because pathways, you often come into Marketing Cloud, not it's something that grows on you as you do other things. So I just thought I'd add that. Greg, we've got some interesting questions in the chat. Let's go through them.
Sure.
Um, Greg Guilford, is there any who's this from? I can't see. Oh, Lakshmi. Is there any opportunity of learning that is the required skill set where while working or contributing? Is there any opportunity of learning? So what are the opportunities to learn more, get practical experience, I guess is what Lakshmi's asking there.
So is this just to clarify? Is it more along you have the job that has Marketing Cloud in it? Like how what opportunities do you have to continue to grow it as you're there, or is this more of I'm already doing stuff, but I want to break into this? So how do I work around the fact that I already have a 9 to 5 full time job and a life? How do I fit
I,
this
I,
in?
I suspect it's the latter. How do I bridge into Marketing Cloud whilst working and family and everything else?
So it's a tough one. It's not gonna lie, you're gonna have a lot of late nights. It's a part time job in itself. Like it's I'd love to say, oh, it's easy. You just click a button and magically get skills. It's unfortunately it's learning. Like there's a reason that school was a 7 8 hour day. Like it's something that it takes time to just pick up and learn. And as people get older, it gets harder to pick things up. Unfortunately, I've been finding that myself, that as I've continued on more and more into my career, the harder it is for me to pick up new skills. So it's something you just got to account for. You just got to figure out when the best times are for you to do it and pick your own pace. Like some people may go, hey, I want to spend, 2-3 hours on Trailhead for the next week every single day. And more power to you. I don't know where you get that time, but awesome. That's amazing. Great job. But it could also be one of those, hey, I want to do an hour or two on the weekends and I'll slowly build up and get this in. And that's completely fine. It's really, if you have a job and you have a family and you have all that, you're in a great place. Like, you don't need to make that change immediately. If you want to, completely fine. Here's the path to get there. Just know it's going to be a lot.
We might ask that question on our LinkedIn group. We've got about 11,000 members there at the moment, so I'm sure there'll be some comments that we can ask the question. What was the most important thing you did to get started with Marketing Cloud, and what you focused on? There might be some ideas that bubble up through there, so we'll put a link to that in the email after the when we wrap up this event. How about I get your name wrong, Yami? But your question is, I am also interested to improve my skills by contributing. Is there a way, Greg?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Honestly, I find the most helpful articles, the most helpful things that I see around there in different content is the ones where people document their journey. If someone comes up and goes, hey, I just sat and I learned Journey Builder. These are the crap things that happened along the way. Here's the stupid roadblock I ran into. Here was my brain fart. Seeing all that is more valuable to me than it is someone that knows it, like, the Journey Builder God coming down and telling you this is what to do. It's great information, super helpful. But if you're beginning, you have no idea what half of what is being said means. So like being able to have someone like feel like they're going on the journey with you is huge. So like that, if you're looking at contributing, that's the way I would look at doing it. And through that, writing down as you're learning things and being to where you're teaching, it actually greatly increases how well you know it, because as you write it down, as you talk to someone, you realize the holes in your own knowledge, or you realize, holy crap, I really know this stuff. So like there's that's probably, I would say, my recommendation for being able to improve your skills through contribution.
I got to know Greg through Stack Exchange, and Greg was contributing on there along with Adam and Elliot, and between those three guys, they were answering the questions that I had. And I've got a couple of contributions on there, but there's some go-to people. I've missed a whole lot of names there, I know, but in the early days, it was how I got to know Greg. I also got to know Greg through his blog. So I got to know about stuff that helps. There's a couple of other blogs out there, especially on WS Proxy. What's it called? Marketing Cloud XYZ? Is that the one? I've got the name totally wrong, Greg. What's it?
Yeah, I know it's Ivan Razine's blog, but I can't remember. I think it amscript.xyz.
Yeah, maybe? Something like that. But those sites. Thank you. Amscript.xyz. That just makes such a difference for me, even. And you're just nutting stuff out. Where do I go? How do I start? There's Cameron Roberts with his scammers on how data views link together. We're sort of going into more of the dev there, but share your story. I'm starting with my CDP story starts now, and I'm blogging about it on my blog. I'm talking about it, and as I learn, for me, and I think what Greg just said before, you write down. It actually forces you to really think about it. So instead of just browsing through the docs and stuff, you actually have to think about, how do I tell my story? When you start thinking about how do I tell my story, you're actually documenting your story, which is really forcing you to learn it. At some stage, all the stories that we tell on our blogs, we invariably present I'm sure Greg's presented a few of his blog posts in presentations. It's just a way of understanding how it all comes together. Can you share? Yep, definitely in the link notes, definitely share that. And we'll share Greg's blog and we'll share all the other blogs that we can think of in the notes as well. Are there any other questions that we've got there? I'm not seeing too many more come through. Just have a look at the DMs, see if there's anything there. Lakshmi, you're back. No, there's nothing more there. All right, then I think if there's no more questions, here's one in Q&A. I have Yemi, I have limited knowledge of SQL, HTML, and CSS. Very minimal knowledge of JavaScript. Can you please refer me to some resources to improve my hands-on? Definitely in the links after this, we'll provide some URLs. There's some awesome stuff on the internet. Any quick takeaways on that one, Greg?
I would say, yeah, like it really, as tacky as it sounds, Google is your best friend. Like that's how I've learned the majority of stuff that I've learned with different languages. I would just Google how to code this, and there would be results, and I just played with the results until I got it to work, and that's kind of how I've picked things up. There are many great sites out there for SQL. I can't remember what it's called. Oh no, like W3 schools. It's a pretty simple one. That one, it's not comprehensive, but it's a much simpler terms to understand than some of the other resources out there. Other resources tend to get very technical, which it's more complete for someone that comes from a technical background. That's where I would recommend you go. But if you're coming in, you don't have that tech background, that it's a lot easier to understand language, and it's a lot more simplified to understand.
There's no way anyone can remember everything, and I quite often find myself on W3 schools. Just okay, what was the syntax for that? How does it work? And that sort of start there, and that'll lead you to somewhere else, and that's it. The journey just starts on Google. You work through all that stuff.
Absolutely. And I've found creating your own snippets and your own little repository of things and have it as your own code and storing it there is insanely helpful. I mean, honestly, that's how my blog started. I was writing all that for me. And then I was like, I had a whole bunch of people asking to keep seeing, and I'm like, why don't I just make it on a website? So I pushed it all up there, and that's how that started.
Greg, does it ever happen to you? It happens to me sometimes, not very often. I'm sure it happens to you more often. But you're trying to work out something to do, the answer to something. You're sitting there scratching your head, and you go into Google, you type in the question, and it directs you to the answer you've already written.
I've not only done that, I have also had where I put in a ticket to Salesforce to ask about how to do something, and they refer me to my own answer on Stack Exchange. And I love having a conversation around that. Like I do understand that. I do get that, but that's not the answer for this. I wrote that.
Yeah. And that goes back to that contributing thing. In the moment, we're all learning different things, and we forget too. We forget what we learnt, and there's just so much to it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Greg, for today. Thank you, Lakshmi, for joining, for your first hosting the first event, and also thanks for everyone in 2022. This is our last event for the year. Thank you for following along and helping to make, helping to share. The purpose of the group is to help people learn, share, and mentor Marketing Cloud. So thanks for helping us be on that journey with that. More in 2023. Lakshmi, do you want to wrap up?
No, actually, I just wanted to say thank you to Yamini, Abhinaya, and one more person who joined the session because they know me. And I just wanted to ask them to share it with somebody else who they know so that we can get more people into the ecosystem.
What was the question, Lakshmi?
No, that is not a question. I just wanted
Oh,
to say thank you to the people who joined.
not a problem.
Yeah.
Oh, signing out for 2022. Catch you guys later. Thank you.
See you later.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.